guys, this is Jazz from Caitlin Jazz Books. It is currently 9:45 PM. I should have been revising. I didn't, but I'm making this video to make myself feel productive. From reading the title, you can probably tell that this is going to be a wrap-up and TBR video. And before I get started, I would like to clarify that I am currently in year 11, and that means May is my worst month. Worst month. Yes, I am doing the thing that everyone has to go through, but you don't think it's going to happen until it's literally 2 weeks before. I am doing my GCSE exams, so I'm very stressed at the moment, and I think that's kind of showing in my face, my terrified eyes. But yes, so I am currently revising for those, or at least I should be. Tonight I didn't. I don't know why. It's like I've got some weird mental block, so this is like my way of being productive. So just to point out, my TBR is not going to be very large, and even the books that I've put on there I feel are going to be easy reads because I need to let my brain rest. I did read a considerable amount this month, which is April. My god, it's April. Anyway, the first book. Now, which one was the first book? I don't know. Okay, the first book I finished was Wayfarer by Alexandra Bracken, which is obviously the second book in the duology of Passengers, which I have here. I feel like this was a pretty good ending to the duology. I did enjoy it, but I feel like I left it too long between Passengers and Wayfarers to read it, because it all went over my head, the whole lore, the theory. It went really in depth, and quite frankly I wasn't prepared for that, so I was just kind of like, oh, I don't remember what happened. I had to Google what happened in the last book, which I don't usually have to do. But yeah, it's a complicated book. I mean, I think even if I had read Passengers, it's still complicated. That being said, I did enjoy this book. There was some really good character development, and it did remind me why I do love Nicholas. He is a sexy sailor man, and I do like him very much. I did like Nicholas. Nicholas is my favourite character. If I could meet one of the characters in real life, I would choose Nicholas. Because damn, he fine. I'm not going to say what this is about, because obviously this is the last book in the series, duology, whatever you want to call it. So obviously the major spoilers, but I will explain Passengers, which is about a girl called Etta Spencer, who is a violinist, and she is performing at her debut performance, and she is whisked away into a world of wonder and magic and time travel as she is hurled across space and time, and she tries to figure out like what's going on, what's happening, and she realises that she is part of this dangerous plot. And it is rather mysterious and wonderful. And if you want great analysis, great depth, and lots of description, and it's very historical, it's very accurate, historically accurate. And when I read the blurb at the back, the author, Alexandra Bracken, apparently has a degree in history, so that makes sense. Anyway, moving on. The second book I read this month was Library of Souls by, I need to remember his name, Ransom Riggs. Which is the third and final book in Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children. Why did I buy another book? It was unnecessary, I know, but all my friends were like, you need to finish this trilogy, and I didn't want them spoiling it for me, so guess what, I gave in. I could have asked to borrow it, but it would look incomplete on my shelf. I'm a petty person. This is going to be quite a controversial opinion, and just before I start, this is not to say that I did not enjoy this book. This book was great. I thought it was a good ending to the trilogy. I thought overall the story was good, the characters were likeable. So the main problem I kind of had from the first book onwards is that there were too many characters. Like when I started reading Hollow City, which is the second one, I started realising that there were too many characters to keep track of. And while it was great that it showed that they each had their own like peculiarity or thing that made them special, which was great, it was in-depth enough to make you want to care about the character, but not in-depth enough to actually care about them, because there were just so many of them. I'm sorry, but there was way too many main characters. So the plot twists, I honestly didn't see coming because they were just kind of a bit ridiculous. I don't know, this is about a book with children that have magical powers and can travel through time and stuff. So honestly, when I say it's ridiculous, that doesn't like really. Just see what I mean. Just see what I'm trying to say. Another issue that I had was that for the first book, which I really enjoyed, the first book which I have here, it's based with all these photos. Like you can see on the front cover, there is a photo, and it's kind of like put in like different points in the book to help illustrate the point. And for the first book, I feel it did that. The story was written, and it was like the photos went with the story, and it was like great. That's great. As we got into the second and third book, I felt like they were writing around the photos to try and make it fit in with the photos, if that makes sense, like really specific things. Whereas the first book, I felt like it was actually happening, and the photos were evidence to back it up. This, I felt like they were writing a story to fit around the photos, and I read the thing at the end where you can like ask questions to the author, and that's what he actually did. He wrote stories around the photos that he found, like the vintage photos, and like I get it, that's the point, but it just didn't. It felt slightly disjointed at times. Okay, are you proud of me? I read an entire series in a month. By which I mean 2 books, because it's a duology. I'm realising that I did not stick to my TBR. I think 1 book that was on my TBR I have actually read this month. But yeah, the duology that I read to wrap up this month nicely was Me Before You by Jojo Moyes, and After You, also by Jojo Moyes. Obviously, I've heard a lot about this book, because when it came out there was this whole stigma, and then the film came out and there was an even bigger explosion of fandoms and feels. And because of this, I already knew it was going to happen, so I went in this somewhat emotionally prepared, I'll say. And obviously I'd seen the film, which I did talk about, which I regret with every fibre of my being, because it was so similar. This is a masterpiece of literature. There we go, I said it right. It is about a girl named Louisa Clark, and she is unemployed, she has no job, and then she gets offered a job looking after a quadriplegic. I can't say it. Quadriplegic. I can't say it. I'm sorry. Do not kill me. Man called Will Trainer, and he's obviously very disheartened by his situation, let's say. But it's just about their relationship and how they grow as a carer and a caree and develops into something else. But I guess that's kind of implied from the cover. Obviously there was brilliant character development in this from both main characters, who I both love. At first I hated Will with a passion. I was like, but Louisa, I felt emotionally connected to her because she's clumsy, I'm clumsy, she's a bit awkward. I definitely relate. I gave this 5 stars, and I think I gave this 3 stars, I think, because obviously you can't live up to something that's as good as that was. This was a good book by itself, and I feel like if it had been if that had been a standalone and this was also a standalone and they just changed the characters' names or whatever, I probably would have given this like 4 stars. But it was the fact that they tried to continue on from a story that was already finished, because what was meant to happen happened, and I think she literally wrote this just to like appeal to the fandom, like, oh, what happened to Louisa after everything happened and stuff. See, if you have read Me Before You have seen the film or whatever, you will know what I'm talking about, so I won't go into much detail for those who won't, even though that's probably a very small group of people. But anyway, this carries on from Louisa's point of view after what happened in Me Before You, and it's just about her life continuing, and I was kind of disappointed because after all the development that she went through in Me Before You, she kind of stepped backwards from this book. But in other ways, I felt like that was kind of realistic, because you wouldn't be able to just change like that after one thing happened. So, and it was very realistic, and it went into a lot of emotional depth, which I found quite harrowing, actually. But after a while it did drag a bit and got a bit repetitive, but it did pick up a lot at the end, and a lot happened. And it was still as funny as the first one. Like, you wouldn't expect a book about a severely disabled man and his carer being funny, but it was, and it was just really heartwarming, and so was this, eventually, after you got 3/4 of the way through. So this did drag a little, but ultimately I would recommend it. It was good. Yeah, my current read at the moment is It's About Love by Stephen Camden. A boy called Luke and this girl called Leia, and I think you can probably imagine, I get it, like Star Wars, It's kind of funny, kind of not, but it's very cliche. It's an easy read, which I said at the beginning of the video I was trying to go for because of exam. Blurb is very vague, so I won't go into this too much because I don't want to spoil it for anyone, but so far I'd probably give it like 3 to 4 stars. It depends how it picks up, but so far it's great. Obviously it doesn't say it on the blurb, so I can't say what it's about really, but it's good. I will talk about this after I'm done. Right, the first book I'm going to read next month, hopefully, probably not, maybe, I don't know, is One by Sarah Crossan. As far as I know, this is about 2 conjoined twins, and it's about them trying to live separate lives when obviously they can't. I have not heard a bad review of this, but I have not heard many reviews of this, so, you know, I'm somewhat biased in that sense. I just got this because I've seen it everywhere, on BookTube, in bookshop, like everywhere I go, this is there. So I thought, I gave in, like I feel like the world was trying to tell me something. Maybe this will be a masterpiece, I do not know, I will find out. I've noticed I've been reading a lot of contemporary lately, which really isn't my thing. It's probably because they're really easy reads, so that's probably why. Etc, etc. But I wanted something that was not going to be another... Oh, I've just showed you what it is. Oh well. I didn't want another contemporary because I get a bit bored of them after a while. That's why I don't read them a lot, because they're all the same. Usually there's something different about the ones I really like, but usually they're just the same. And the last book I'm going to read is one that Caitlin got me for my birthday, which is Wolf by Ryan Gordon. I don't know how to say that. I read the blurb of this for the first time. I got this 3 months ago and I didn't even read the blurb. Thank you. I'm sorry, Caitlin. This is about like this perspective of what would happen if the Nazis had won the war, and it's about a... It doesn't specify... Oh yeah, she. Yale, I don't even know. Yale is part of a resistance that is trying to kill Hitler, and they're on a mission, and it just sounds interesting because I like historical stuff. I like historical stuff. It sounds very action-packed, and it's not a romance unless she falls in love with Hitler, which I don't think is going to happen. So yeah, that is my wrap-up of TBR for this month. Hopefully, wish me luck for next month, guys. I'm really sorry that this was a very long video, but obviously there was a lot to get through, and I tried to go into a bit more depth, because obviously this is a booktube channel. You want to hear about the actual books, not just look at their covers and me say, look what I'm reading. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this slightly different take on a video. I will eventually do a review on something, probably after exams are all over, in the brief week I have before it's all over. Anyway, please leave a like, comment and subscribe because it's free, and someone will see you next week. Bye guys!